Hi everyone, it's Lynn Reardon at Horsewise, and today I thought what I would do instead of my usual kind of audio podcast, I would like to do is a visual podcast, just kind of like a little 10-minute kind of fun session about horses' ears. I was going through some old photos and I was noticing the ears in several of the photos, and it reminded me of how much I really focus on ears when I'm working with a horse or maybe meeting a horse for the first time. So many of the horses will express just a ton of information about their personality, about what they think about you or the situation, or maybe even what they're noticing that maybe you aren't noticing in the background. So what I'd like to do is share some photos with you, just a few, and kind of lead you through some of the stories that each of these set of horse ears told me at the time. So I'm going to share my screen here, super casual. It's not like I did a PowerPoint or anything. So let me share that with you. And I'm going to come over here to my photo stack. And the very first photo I'm going to show you, I think is pretty obvious what is going on there. So this horse had just arrived at our place. I guess it was, it was a fairly warm day. He got pretty sweaty and he was really nervous. And so the first thing he did was he kind of ran around and trotted around. And then he kind of paused like this and he was just like, oh my God. And even if you just were looking at the ears and you would think, oh, he's just being alert, if you look at his eye and how tight his mouth is, it's really very clear that this guy is not having fun at the moment. And I'm kind of laughing as I talk about this because I had someone tell me one time they saw that photo and they were like, oh, it's such a beautiful photo. I just love, how lively he looks. And I was like, oh, this horse is scared right now. So I just thought I would kind of share this photo right off the bat so we could see like that's pretty clear, right? He's got his eyes are really bugging out and everything. Sometimes when the horse's ears are like that sharply pointed forward, it typically could mean, hey, I'm just alert. But if they're that sharp with that upright head and then the tight mouth, you've probably got some trouble brewing. The horse is scared. The horse is anxious. The horse is actually thinking about where's the nearest exit. So I just wanted to now go to the next photo. Now, this guy also saw something that he wasn't sure about. And you can see the difference. Now, his ears are kind of perked forward as well. And he's looked, but you see his neck is not quite as tight. His head is a little lower. And his mouth it's still fairly soft. He's kind of looking like, I'm not sure, but I don't think it's going to kill me. And another kind of key sign is look how relaxed his tail is. His tail's just kind of hanging there. He's got one foot cocked, looks like he's resting his foot. So you can see this horse is kind of checking something out, but he's pretty sure it's not going to kill him. And then within a few minutes after he indeed did check that thing out, this is what he looked like then. So you can see his ears kind of like maybe still paying attention a little bit to that thing, but he's very relaxed. Look at how relaxed his lips are and everything. And I'm a big sucker for the one ear up, one ear down. I find that to be, that's like texting to me. Like they're just giving me so much information depending on what the ears are pointing at and whatnot. So I really like that. And of course you can see his expression is very soft too. And then the next one I wanted to share is this is a mare. She's very alert, and she has an alert personality. And this for her is a very relaxed, checking something out expression. And what I like about her is like immediately, this is the first time she was seeing something new. I think we just brought in a brightly colored wheelbarrow into the barn area. And so she was simultaneously processing it, looking at it for the first time. And you can tell she thinks that's probably going to be no big deal. So she's got the classic kind of one ear pointed this way, this ear forward, kind of relaxed face. She's saying, I'm aware of it, but it's not a big deal. And she just looks kind of soft all the way around. And then the next one here is it's a pretty funny one. So this horse, I had put a cone on his saddle horn. I just to kind of see what he would do. He was being very relaxed about everything else I was throwing his way. And I put that up there and he looked at me like, really? Like, is this really necessary? So he has his ear here. He's kind of, you could tell by his expression, it's just kind of quizzical. He's fairly relaxed in the neck, but he's also, he's giving me the equivalent of a teenage kid rolling their eyes at mom for being such a dork. So he was a very big personality horse, very expressive. And then kind of sometimes when you have other horses in the scenario, right, in the same situation, sometimes those ears are communicating what they feel about each other, right? So this horse on the left here, he's pretty happy to meet the little mare, the little bay mare. So you can see his ears are really alert, but he's not tense. Again, look at his neck, not quite so tight as the first horse with the blaze. And his mouth is not tight. He's very curious. He's basically saying, I would like to get to know you. And you can see his expression as well of his eye. He's just kind of like, hey. And then she's like, I don't know about you. Like, look at her ear. Both her ears are back a little bit. She's a little tighter in her mouth, and she's not exactly like rushing into his embrace. She's kind of like, I'm going to fade back into the trees here. So eventually these two became pretty good friends over the fence, but it took a couple days, and this was their first meeting. So you can kind of see the tone that's being set for the next few days from just this one photo. And then this photo I really like. It was taken out at a big pasture. These horses were all in a herd together. And we have ears in all different places here. So this is a mare, and she has her head kind of down. Her ears, some people might think, oh, she's basically angry, right? Her ears are back. But you can see how soft and relaxed that really is. She's just putting ears back because she's sort of off duty, so to speak. She's just like, I'm relaxing. I feel comfortable. I feel safe here. And this horse, who's actually the herd boss, the brown horse in the middle, he's kind of dozing too. You can see his eyes are really sleepy. It's hard to see his ears here, but they're basically kind of doing this. Like, they're not flat, but they're kind of flopping a little to the side. I call that fawn ears. It's usually a sign, again, of big relaxation. And the reason these two are relaxed is because this guy is on patrol. So if you look at the darker bay horse here, you can see his ears are very alert. He's kind of keeping an eye on the situation so that his buddies can sleep. Again, it's a very sweet photo. This is one of my favorite photos of these three horses. And then sometimes you really see the ears reflecting how the horse is either feeling about a person or acknowledging a person's presence, or again, kind of what is the dynamic between the individuals in the photo, horse and human. So this horse, Santo, he's the same one who was really trying to make friends with that mare in the other photo, and she wasn't having any of it. So Santo is very scared of cows. They smell bad and they move weird, and he just thinks they're probably going to kill him. So this was one of the first times he'd ever seen cows. And it took a while to get him this close to the cows. And as you can see, he's really pretty not sure, right? His head is his neck is up and everything. And you could tell, look at his posture. He's very kind of like, front legs locked into place. Not a relaxed posture here. But the thing that I love about this photo is this was the sort of the phase in Meet the Cows Day where he was trying to trust me a little bit. He'd been through his first spasms of fear. Now he was kind of thinking, maybe if I'm there, it'll be okay. So in the way, see this one ear is kind of looking back at me. And it's hard to tell with this kind of resolution of this photo, but my hands are sort of poised in a way that I'm trying to communicate with him without pulling too tight on the reins. So there's contact there and he can feel it, but he's not being pulled into place, if that makes sense. This would not be an appropriate place to have a fully loose rein because he is so anxious. So I need to be able to sort of support him without being tight. And his ear here is telling me that I feel that, but I'm not tight about it. I know that you're there to support me. This ear is really focused on these cows, like these death creatures over here. But although his head is high, you can see that he's trying to soften a little bit in his pull. He's trying to kind of stay with me. So this is a really good picture, I think, showing a horse sort of in transition. He's not quite comfortable, but he's not as completely tense and worried as he was a minute ago. And I'm extremely alert myself. I'm trying not to be too tense, trying to keep my leg relaxed and everything. But you can see how I'm looking the same place this ear is looking at these cattle, because I know that if one of the cows moves a little erratically, Santo is going to get pretty anxious. So I'm kind of keeping an eye on them too, so that I can kind of maybe direct him a certain way. And then the last photo is pretty funny, actually. So a couple of years ago, my husband and I went to France. My husband has some relatives there. And it was the first time I'd ever been to France, don't speak French. And one of the family members lives in this beautiful little village called Orseveau. It's very rural. And he took us out to the pasture where there were some neighborhood horses. I think one or two of them they had for their kids long ago, and then the others were just sort of community horses, like they just hung out in this big pasture. So when we got there, one of the things that this family would do, again, with these horses that they didn't really ride or do anything with, is they would bring like tons of French bread and they would tear it up into pieces, and the horses would kind of mob them, swarm them, going, oh, human treat dispenser. This is not something that I really approve of in horses. So you'll see this in my body posture too. So here's the last photo. So I think this horse, this horse with this gentleman holding him, he just started to barrel into the crowd. This guy was holding the bread and he's like, I'm going to come get that guy with the bread. And this is one of my husband's cousins, and he just basically tried to brace the horse, like stop the horse, and then he would sort of pretend like he was petting him, but really he was just trying to keep him from stepping on him. And here I am over here, and I'm all like straight, right? You see how straight my body posture is, and I have my hand out. I wasn't actually touching the horse. I was just doing the "you shall not pass" thing. I was just creating like this air bubble. So the horse kind of came looming up, and then when this kind of picture was snapped, I had just done the you can't pass, like "you shall not pass, you can't come into my space." And you can see his ear. He's like, so this lady, I think I better not go into her space. And then he's all about this guy and looking at him. So this is just kind of, I think, an interesting scenario. You can't see my ears, but they would be slightly back. I'm like saying, no, don't come near me. And these were sweet horses. They didn't particularly have good ground manners, and they wouldn't have really tried to hurt anybody, but it's just not good manners to sort of barrel into people. So I found myself during this little visit kind of consistently and quietly putting myself between these horses and the older gentleman here. So that's my little, kind of quick visual podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. These are pretty simple, fun photos, but it's amazing how, again, if once you tune into very small signals from the horses, like their ears, once you notice the ears, you might notice the tightness in their mouth or the softness in their eye, or all the variety of things that horses show us with their body language. So I just thought that would be a really fun way to show it. And what I'd like to do is kind of do these visual podcasts more regularly. So if anyone has particular requests or questions or things you'd like me to cover visually with videos and photos on the Facebook page, just give me a shout at horsewisecoach.com or message me through the page. Thank you very much, and I hope you have a wonderful day.